documentaries, and it, of course, is mimed to perfection.
Right, right. Oh, that is too funny. But I would love to hear the Italian version of me.
Actually, some Italian dubbers who must have made an effort and acted as they were you know.
Right, right. I'm going to let everybody know the YouTube is back up and streaming. So there is Leo's book. I'm holding it up there now, Invisible Master. And Leo, the book, normally when I read somebody's book, I'll read it, speaking of dubbing, right? I read it in their voice. I hear their voice as I'm reading the book. And this one, I'm having trouble hearing your voice in it because it's not written with an Italian accent. And
now we made a big effort in letting the whole of my thoughts and everything filter in a way that was really American. And we went through like a lot of studies in the details of the even type of American you use and the way you then go along with the footnotes and all the rest. So we use a Chicago style in that case. So, I mean, we're very accurate in wanting to not only give you a translation, but something that really helps the my public, my new public in the U.S. understand this book as if it was an American author.
It's an amazing read, Leo. So congratulations on the book. I'm just going to say that out of the gate.
Thanks.
It is an amazing book. There's
a lot of work in it. So not only mine, but also in the translation and the adaptation. We have worked together with my wife, who is American, and of course we have the possibility of really now getting this to you and being very excited about it because it took many years to translate all these books in the English language, and now we have at our fifth book, I think we have reached perfection in our also style of translation and adaptation.
Now let's get straight to it. Of course, it's Leo Zagami. So I am going to assume if we are dealing with extraterrestrials and Leo Zagami, that it is going to have a lot of religious insight into it, as well as secret groups and history and the Illuminati and maybe even a little Aleister Crowley. Well, you didn't disappoint in that. Your information with all of those contexts are here and clearly presented. And I've got to say this, and I want to say this to the audience, that this is not a rehash of old information or stuff that this is all fresh, new, and comes from a mindset that is just amazing. It's a really, really well-written book. And I highly recommend it. I want to.
Well, it's also, Jimmy, the fact that for many years people have mainly known me through the internet. You see, that's why I went on to doing books, because what the people were perceiving from the internet was not really Leo Zagami, the guy who in the secret societies was an historian, an academic in the way I was working, because it kind of made it difficult to put through that this knowledge is serious knowledge and has to be taken seriously and also proposed in a serious way to be taken seriously by the academic world.
Right.
So at one point, I understood that this was not possible with one page you publish on the internet or an interview, because certain things need to be unveiled in a very methodical way for the reader, so they can then grasp also the deepness of it, of what you're trying to transmit to them. So and now with the books in the English language, finally, I guess that people will understand, okay, Leo Zagami is not just saying things on the internet and having a show here. It's not just a show. There is some substance.
Now, let's. What I want to do here is I want to break down. I'm going to go in chronological order, but I want to break down these chapters and your approach to them. And again, it's Leo Zagami. And I was when I first got the book and I turned to Rita, I said, watch, we're going to have aliens and Jesus will be chapter 1, right? and I opened up the book, and that's what I wanted to see. It's Leo, right? And that's the opening chapter. And, the supposed alien ancestors of Jesus. Now, you went straight there out of the gate. Do you think, I want to talk about this. We're going to get in. It sets the tone for the book. But are you expecting to make some people angry with starting the book out that way?
No, because I think they got already angry enough with what I said already. The fact that now finally I have condensed all this in a book that is directed also for those people like you who are researching a specific branch, what is defined as the conspiracy theory realm, which is the UFO, the alien, but to give it a deeper meaning and also defy a lot of the fake news that went along with, for example, the Dan Brown exposure, which was not really an exposure, but was disinfo upon disinfo. So it needed to be unfolded much better and much more clearly. I hope I did that, Jimmy.
Sure. Well, let's start right there. What's the alien connection to Jesus?
Well, I mean, if we have to have it called an alien connection, it's because of the bloodline, of course, of Jesus. And this bloodline is being discussed already, with Dan Brown. Of course, we have a development of sensationalizing the whole thing. But it's true that there is some bloodlines that have filtered, some aristocratic Jewish bloodlines that, of course, come down from the tyrannical Jewish Nephilim. And of course, for a lot of people, this has always been the realm of research of Zecharia Sitchin. And of course, I respect very much what other researchers have done, but I also point out maybe on the limitations that each researcher could have. Lawrence Gardner was this English researcher that influenced very much behind the scenes people that went on after to filter that information that then became important in this whole Da Vinci Code saga that was unveiled by the writings of Dan Brown. But there is this alien connection in the fact that, of course, not only by legend, but also because the royal families have had a link to the gods since the time of ancient Rome. I mean, a lot of these aristocratic families also derive from ancient Rome. And in ancient Rome, we know the emperors were gods who interfaced with the gods. They were demigods. They were half human, half gods because they had interacted with these entities from other realms, which I also describe, as you know, in the book as extra-dimensional and capable of traveling through time and space because they have a complete other knowledge and other technology to enter this dimension and then get out of it. And of course, the aristocratic families acquire, and of course the royal families even more, the possibility of a priority interaction with these entities. And from that springs out the dominating class of this civilization and of the others before that.
Now,
I hope it was clear.
Yeah, you're very clear. You're very clear. Leo, there's at another point in the book, you reveal, which I didn't know about, that in the Quran, that they specifically talk about a wormhole that is connected to another planet. And now what I find interesting in that, first off, the name of it is Mirage. and that, because we connect mirage in the English language with, something that you see in the desert and it's off in the distance and you get up to it and it turns out it's not an oasis, it's not there, whatever, it's a mirage, it's not real. But in the Quran, it's a wormhole where extraterrestrials, angels, interdimensional, whatever it is that you want to put the label on, travels in the blink of an eye from that planet to Earth. Now, if we back up to this first chapter in the book where we're talking about Jesus, later on you talk about these wormholes, but is it the same situation that is referenced in the Quran that Jesus was communicating with, and before that, and the gods, of Rome and of Greece and of ancient Egypt and Moses and Mount Sinai and all of these other references to gods and angels? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes. In fact, I later on developed the whole thing, talking also about the ultra-dimensional portal of Lucifer with Otto Rahn and the Nazis and the Wewelsburg Castle, because it's all connected in this history we are living, even up to these days, in something that is unfolding on mankind, that brings us all the way at the end of the book to talk, of course, of the Vatican.
So when Jesus is talking to God, his pops, right? He's talking to God. That we are actually dealing with the possibility of it being extraterrestrial and not necessarily the God that is referenced in the Bible, but something that is, living off planet and traveling here through a wormhole.
Well, but I don't necessarily, you see, I also make some clear warnings here in the book, saying that some people in the New Age arena march on this, take advantage of this to destroy our belief in God. No. It's just different manifestations of God, because there is a hierarchy in the universe, and we never heard of any alien beings who were not regimented in a very strict hierarchy, which is absolutely anti-democratic compared to our own view of democracy, because they have still the systems which we had in place up till 100 years ago, when we had the royal houses in place in Russia, in Germany, in all those countries, where they were destroyed on purpose so we could lose this link, which was very precious and was made out of a tradition. Now, of course, we can criticize those families and call them the Illuminati and all that. And of course, I define what the Illuminati network is in my prior books. But here we are talking about a relation between these families, these secret societies, and these gods. A relationship which goes back thousands of years, is made up of wars, sacrifices, connection, marriages. It's a saga which we can't just brush off, because in the last 100 years we believe in all our naivety that we can be democratic. That is the problem, that we can't connect with the aliens, because if you read the whole book, you will understand that we will have to go back 100 years, scrape off the last 100 years of our history, actually the last 200 years, since the Illuminati, methodically, the Order of the Illuminati of Asia and all the secret societies that developed after that destroyed methodically these links between the creation of Adam, represented in the famous fresco painting by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, and mankind. We have destroyed this connection. This connection was made of respect, of rituals, very complicated and complex, between mankind and these entities. We can't just meet with them. We have to have a ritual. Everything is a ritual in Japan. There is a reason. Because the Empire of the Sun is first in receiving certain knowledge. And of course, it's very difficult for us now, at the moment, the way that we have been brainwashed deliberately to enslave us, and this is very sad.
The points that you made about the new movements of today, right? I thought that was a very interesting your take on it and the reason why. There's different segments of it of consciousness and the new side, and then there's it's all branch, but it's very interesting their take on ET and the possibility of everything planned out to help us, that we're going to be saved, and it's going to be all about knowledge. It's pretty interesting how you break that down and then compare it to the very same, if it's ET, the very same views that, not the very same view, the alternate views of the same phenomenon, which is ET visiting here on Earth, and why are they here? It was, I really had to sit back. I almost kind of laughed a little bit, Leo, at myself and others, because that is truly the case. The New Age movement, which has been going on since the 60s, and the consciousness side of things, and their belief that that we're going to be elevated to another level, which is all fine, but that may not be the case. That we have had people over the years making the same connections to ET that are coming away with a completely different view.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think that we need to get back to a different view, because this different view will bring us to a more serious approach, a more academic approach, and also a more sacred approach, which is the approach these entities, in any case, either they are good or bad, they always want a sacred approach from us. It can't be just a very materialistic and sensationalistic approach. There has been for a long time, as I describe in my book, fraternities, secret societies upon secret societies built on this contact. And that was because they were following what Jesus said. You can't just throw the pearls to the pigs. And often, unfortunately, in the modern world, in this age of sensationalism, and also in the age of materialism, we have grasped religious knowledge in the New Age movement and materialized it, despiritualized it, becoming a spiritual desert ourselves in the process. So we need to reacquire this real connection, and also the respect to this sacred geography, which is built on sacred places, that we have to approach in a completely different way. Yes, of course, I might not have to wear a cape all the time and go there and bow down.
Right.
But the approach has to be different, even for people in the media world who are working on documentaries. You have to be very careful. Because when I went in certain places, I haven't filmed anything. I haven't even touched anything, because I knew exactly what would happen if I did that.
Let's take a break right here, Leo. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami, and his new book, which we're going to be discussing tonight on the show, Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power, right there. It's an amazing book. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Game Changer Network. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Come and join in on the conversation. Of course, we have two chat rooms open, one over at Spreaker and one over at KGRA The Planet. Our guest tonight's Leo Zagami. We're talking about his new book, and it's called The Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power. Now, the information here, when we're talking about extraterrestrials and ET and the UFO question and how it has affected us and others throughout history, is complete. This is a book that you're going to want to read. As Leo and I discuss some certain points throughout the book, there is so much information and so much detail here. We are merely scratching the surface of all of this. But Leo, your points not only with certain historical figures, which we're going to discuss right now. It goes all the way up through to CERN and technologies today. And you really connect all of the dots. You've suggested some of this already during the show, and we're going to get to all of that. But it's pretty amazing how it all makes sense the way that you presented it here. It's a fresh take on things.
Well, I hope it's a different take on things, because it's the take of somebody who is not really listening to the ufology world or the world of the conspiracy theories, but is coming from studying mystery schools and secret societies that have unveiled to me a lot of knowledge, but also many experiences that have put me in contact at one point, even with the entities, with what you call aliens, what we can call aliens, but have been there for a long time in various disguises. So I hope that this work, which is an experience of a lifetime, Invisible Master, might help really step into another level for the study of all this, a level that is much closer to the truth, and that might really help mankind act also upon maybe the consequences of this contact with these entities. Like I said in this book, the Roswell accident, for example, can be interpreted in a completely different light. For example, I want to ask you, actually, what do you think of my take on CERN, interdimensional portals, and the Roswell accident?
Okay, now, I wanted to save that for later. And let me tell you what.
If you have your own,
yes, yeah.
Well, no worries then.
I have been speaking about CERN on this show and the interdimensional aspects of it and portals and opening up a door to things that we don't have any answers to. And I am very concerned about it. You spend a lot of time on that subject here. Well, actually, we're going to get to that in a second, because you start to touch upon it in Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, you mention Stargate and your search for the Stargate. Now, yes. when most people hear Stargate, they think of Roland Emmerich and the movie, and that's fine, okay, but
and I actually cite that movie also.
Yes, you do. So, and your search for the Stargate, which is now getting into the portal aspect of everything that is discussed in the rest of the book.
Because it's my own experience of life also in this book. In fact, in Italy, this book actually came out as volume 4 of my confessions. It was a later decision to remarket for the US market as the Invisible Master, and at that point I also added some new parts to make it even more rich for the English-speaking world. But this is my experiences in my early 20s, when I just got into the secret societies, initiated in 1993, and also I was practicing a certain magical grimoires, like the magic of Abraham Mellin, and I was deeply involved in a spiritual research with myself. Spiritual research, I tell you, Jimmy, that was very heavy, meaning that could have turned out to be a complete disaster, and I could have probably even died at some points of it. But fortunately, I'm here to talk about it, and that's great when you survive certain ordeals. And the magical door in Rome is actually a place, is actually an alchemical door that was constructed by certain eminent alchemist and a Jesuit known as Athanasius Kircher. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's an incredible story, because I have lived it on myself, and the discovery of this alchemical door, the fact it was itself a portal, and that these alchemical inscriptions that surrounded, actually I found them for the first time indicated in a book, old book of my grandmother, a Sicilian grandmother, that was very much into the study of Kabbalah. And so I went and searched for this portal, and it was in Rome, in Piazza Vittorio. You can still find it there. It's gated. You can't really access right in front of it, but you can clearly see it a few meters off the fence. And it's impressive because you see the symbols are very powerful, but they're also the key to something else that is right there in front of you, and that it's a door which is closed. There is no entrance. It's at a material level, but there is definitely an entrance at a spiritual level, and this entrance is to an invisible world of angels and demons, and that I of course unfold in this book, but also in my life. So it was a very strong experience back then, and I talk about it, of course, in my book, because it was coinciding also with the coming out of that movie, Stargate. So it kind of like had a synchronicity also, which was interesting for me at least, and helped me go forward in connecting then the importance of certain places with these stargates and these interconnecting with these extra-dimensional doors that are very important for then become in a certain way connected to these entities. Because then you are connected to these entities for the rest of your life in one way or in another. Of course, you don't want these entities to be the negative ones, and you don't want to turn out possessed, something that has happened even in my life, and I will probably, what I'm doing is now preparing a whole book on the subject of possession and exorcism, but that's something that I'm doing later on. Here I am describing my own experience, because I have in the early 90s also agreed to change my life and go into the research of something that was deeper by joining these various secret societies. And especially when it came down to the AA or the Ordo Templi Orientis or the Theosophical Society, which, as I show in this book, it's not only Theosophical Society, the negative originator of the New Age movement, but in reality, it originates also the whole ufology movement. I show very clearly how we had people like George Adamski being connected to Theosophy, or Madeleine, and all these connections. This is early ufology.
Right.
Is actually in the esoteric movement and in Theosophy. So in the end, what I'm bringing here with this book is bringing you back to your roots. I'm saying, this is your roots. Here it is. Study them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it here too as well. And you discuss Carla Turner, of course, in the book at length, and her section is very interesting. I miss her a lot, and I never. She passed away before I started broadcasting, but. Okay. Now we're getting back ahead of ourselves. Let's back up to this door. How exactly does it work? And you had just said to the audience, so I want to clarify that there was no entrance. It wasn't physical. So was it? I
mean, you can actually see the door, because the actual door is called the alchemical door, the magical door in Rome. You can go and find it even on Wikipedia, and you can study the complex history of it, which it's very interesting. But at the same time, for me, as I said in the book, it's been my own experience. And in this book of my grandmother, I had certain symbols that were decrypted from the symbols that you see on the side of this door, because there is actually an entrance with these two sort of demons guarding it right in front of it. You, as I said, you can actually go on the internet and find the pics yourself of it. I also put, of course, an image in the book, but you have to understand that it's a very complex alchemical structure and symbols that apparently led to the disappearance of all the people involved in constructing this door in one night. They all died mysteriously, including somebody who I think probably everybody knows, because Bernini, and everybody knows the fountains of Piazza Navona in Rome, for example. Or everybody knows that Bernini was involved with that in that church that is also described in Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. So Bernini is an important character, definitely. It's not just any kind of character. But apart from that, we have a disappearance of 3 people connected to this story in one night, and they were connected also to this Swedish queen that had converted to Catholicism, come to Rome, Queen Christina, and that never took her position as queen, but she stayed in Rome for a long time and became the head of a sort of secret society full of alchemists and people from the church that were practicing alchemy. Let's remember that the Jesuits, the ones that now see Pope Francis as the head of the church, are the ones who have been preserving a lot of this secret knowledge within the Vatican. That's why they are also in charge of the Vatican archives and, of course, of all those secrets which probably all your listeners would like to have.
Now, the alchemical door is one of the craziest things I have ever seen, right? And you look at it and, well, first off, it's just creepy, Leo. You know that, just looking at it. What's on the...
It's creepy.
It is.
Yes. If you just see it, as something that it's from another age, then you find it creepy. But actually, when you start learning about those symbols, you find it quite welcoming.
Oh, there's nothing welcome about it, man.
it's that, of course, you have to always remember a very creepy feel that has to scare the profane. That's what they always say.
And those 2 guards definitely do just that, right? If you're not worthy, you're not going to, if you don't possess the knowledge to even understand this, you're going to look at those guards and walk away. I mean, it's pretty, but what's on the other side of it, right? Of the wall, what's behind it?
It's just actually, at the moment, because the old villa is not there anymore, we are in the center of Rome in a garden that then behind is just actually the edge of the fence, and it's basically in the middle of a square.
Right.
So they had to. So the rest of the villa is not there any longer. It's now just
it's a portal to nothing. It's right. There's nothing.
It's a portal to nothing in the sense that behind there is wall. It's a very thick wall.
Right.
And then after there is nothing. Now, some people said that maybe in the past there was actually something in it. That it was actually an open door to somewhere, or maybe to a little room, a little alchemical laboratory, in which these people who worked around it, like Athanasius Kircher and Christine of Sweden, and all these people then could connect to another realm, maybe through the use of substances, through the use of complex rituals. I know for sure one thing, that even recently, some Italian politicians have used this place in the middle of the night for rituals. I even know their names.
Now, what happened? Happened to you?
They actually got elected.
Well, what happened to you? You're in your 20s, and you seek out this door. You're there. Did you perform a ritual? Did you say something? Did you meditate? What happened, and what did you see?
I was right in that period practicing this very long ritual, which is called, it's a grimoire, it's called The Magic of Abramelin the Mage, which actually brings you in contact with a series of demons you need to dominate in order to then be able to fully conversate with your angelic side and to discover your holy guardian angel. You have to basically dominate all the demonic side, so then you can have access to the angelic realm. It's a very complex ritual. Very few people completed it. Even Aleister Crowley kind of like backed off for a period. Then he took it on again while in China, and he said he eventually completed it. But in between, there was a lot of drama. It's definitely something that is very dangerous for any magician, because I can describe you this ritual as being, for me, a turning point, and my contact with the alien world, literally the alien world, because what I'm going to tell you is pretty far out. But it's happened, and people can go in Rome, and eventually they can go and study these places, because it happened behind Campo dei Fiori, where there's the statue of Giordano Bruno, where I used to live in this old puppet theater that every Sunday the two adoptive daughters of Albert Einstein, who were Jewish, who were adopted by Einstein because they were Jewish and they were persecuted, the parents, during the war. We are 75 years today from the Shoah, so we should remember also this, especially in Italy, where the racial laws caused so much problems. But what happened was that they were adopted by Einstein. They had this. They became psychiatrists, and they actually knew my father, collaborated with my father. One of them also became involved in the movie business. They're called the Sorelle Mazzetti, the Mazzetti sisters. They're still, actually, I think they're still living. They're two twins, these sisters. So they opened this very odd puppet theater on a Sunday for English-speaking puppets. So basically the Italian could go there or the English could go there, but it was an English-speaking puppet theater on a Sunday behind Campo dei Fiori. What does it mean, a puppet theater? It was given to me to live there as long as I could leave it on a Sunday. So on a Sunday, I knew that I couldn't be there because, of course, they had to have their own puppet theater. But the rest of the week, I was living there. And I was living there and practicing this magic of Abraham the Mage, because the ritual could only be performed if you then had these children coming every week and bringing out this energy.
Wow.
Away. Okay?
Yeah.
So it was a pretty spooky thing to do.
Yeah, man, I'm freaking out right now. Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
But what I can tell you is that at one point, a lot of things started to go on in this place, in the puppet theater during the week. That was very, very X-Files, to say the least. And at one point, I came into contact. And this contact was very defined because they just got me to sit down and write down things. Very technical, first of all, on how to talk with them and get in contact with this entity in a way that was technically friendly for them. They were very technical. So I remember I wrote 44 pages during that period of time, but they were very much intrigued of mathematics, geometry, because you had to also go through their own rules. But in the end, basically, they revealed to me they were a squadron. They were a squadron, meaning a military squadron. And they gave me the codes of access of their spaceships that they were basically running around and doing this operation with. And I was there in this puppet theater. Also, I mean, it was pretty far out, man, because at one point what happened was that somebody came through that door that I would have never expected. Her name is Gabriella Ferri, one of the most famous Italian singers who then suicided herself later on in the late 90s, second half of the 90s, unfortunately. Gabriella Ferri is still regarded today as an historical singer in Rome, like the singer that has sung the heart of Rome. But she wasn't really Roman. She was a Tuareg. She was coming from the desert of Tunisia. She had a tradition with the jinn, with the entities. And what happened was that she knocked my door one afternoon while I was in the puppet theater. And she said, Tum Tum. I say, who is it? I was there with my assistant. At the time, I had a secretary because I also had a very big business going on with the music business and stuff. So I had, of course, somebody assisting me in it. So I was there with this secretary of mine, and suddenly the door knocks and says, "Who is it?" Gabriella Ferri. This puppet theater was very particular because it had two entrances. It's very picturesque, very beautiful. One of the entrances was in this smooth, very small hallway next to a restaurant, and then that was the side door where the people were actually going in on a Sunday. Then there was my entrance in the courtyard, this amazing courtyard in the center of Rome, which really seemed out of a movie, incredibly beautiful. But Gabriella Ferri came from the side way, and she said, "I heard about you. I heard what you're doing." I was like, man, that was pretty freaky, because at the time, everybody knew me as a DJ. Yes, of course, I could have been a great person in the music business. I was very famous. I was the guy who invented Italian raves, whatever. But nobody knew me for this side of things. There was very few people who had access to that kind of knowledge.
How did you, Leo, we're going to hit a break here in a second. How did she find out about you? You're talking about Gabriella Ferri, the blonde Italian singer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is pretty amazing. How did she find out about you?
We've never. I spent a whole day with her after, and I will tell you what happened. But she never told me who told her.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Okay, we'll pick up with that after the break. Back to the door itself, the alchemical door. You do the mage. You did the mage ceremony. You completed it. I've got 2 minutes before the break. What happened when you completed the ritual?
Well, the problem is that I had to interrupt it because of the door, because something happened, but will take more than 2 minutes. I'm afraid we will not be able to do it before the break. So, I had an image. I photocopied the image of the door that was in my grandmother's book with these secret codes that were in it. This is a very, very rare publication. I still have it. That was published in Naples. I made a photocopy, and I went to the Chinese restaurant that was on the other side of the road. The link between the Chinese restaurant and Piazza Vittorio, I will have to talk about it after the break because it's a little bit a long one, and it involves the Chinese triads.
Okay, let's. You know what? Let's just take a break right here. I've got to do this, and I'm going to do that. There we go. We'll take a break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami. We're talking about his new amazing book. It's just been published, The Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power. Live from Rome, Italy, is Leo Zagami. More with Leo right after this short break. Stay with me. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy. We're talking about his new book. It was just published. It is called The Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power. It's an amazing read. Amazing read. Now, right before the break, trying to get clarity on what happened at the alchemical door. I've posted pictures of the door there in Rome. And it is that's a sight to behold. That's a pretty amazing. How old is the door, Leo? Is there any dating on it?
Well, I mean, an exact dating I don't think is present on the alchemical door, but the period is around the second half of the 17th century, I think.
There you go. Okay. So take us through it. I
mean, if we had to say the exact year, it would be between 1678 and 1680.
There you go.
To give it right. It is also known as the Door of the Skies. So that's also an interesting name, because usually we call it the magical door or the hermetic door or the alchemical door, but it's also known as the Door of the Skies. So it's actually known as something that is an access portal to the skies.
It's a Stargate, man. It's a Stargate. And not only that, this is what is interesting, is your experience that you talk about here at the beginning of the book in chapter 2 about this, your references to these types of opportunities, let's call it, right? Portals, accessing portals, opening up portals. You reference throughout the rest of the book. And we're going to get to CERN, I promise everybody. But it's also Aleister Crowley, and it's others throughout history that have gone and opened up these portals and have had access to it, going back to, we talked to the beginning of the show, all the way back to Jesus, Moses, and other historical figures.
Yes, and you were saying about the bloodline, why it's so important. Well, because in the end, I also describe how this bloodline of Jesus that vibrates in a certain way linked to these entities could have filtered even in my own bloodline, because that's where I come from, the lion family also. There is also this connection. So I describe how the aristocracy and the royalty wanted to keep a sort of exclusivity around this connection. Now, for the first time today, we are revealing with this book for your listeners on the earth that there is something really tangible in the realm also of secret societies regarding the connection with the alien reality.
Now, the ritual, that ceremony, I had read Crowley's own words about it and how he pursued it over the years and never managed to complete it. Well, he did eventually complete it, but he spent years trying to get to the end.
It took me also years because, as I said, at one point I had to interrupt it because what happened was I got really deeply entrenched with this magical door in the mix of the magic of Abramelin the Mage. And so, because the Chinese secret society, the Chinese Freemasonry, the Hong, which controls the triads, was taking control of Piazza Vittorio, which they eventually did in that moment of time. They were actually taking control of the whole area, which became basically a Chinatown of Rome. So for me, it was very important to go to the Chinese heads and say, listen, guys, this is not just a part of Rome. There is also a magical side to it. And these are the secrets. Beware of it and keep it in mind. And that's what I did.
And there's, I was...
And I described that in volume 3 of my Confessions, by the way. So it's in detail, apart from here, of course, where I talk about the Abramelin in my new book.
Okay, so now let's get to the moment when something spiritual and mystical happened to you in front of this door when you completed the ritual. What happened?
Well, I was inside the actual puppet theater at that point, which might be, I mean, as a distance from the magical door, we're talking about a 15-minute distance.
Okay.
But it was that I was centering my own temple for what I was trying to evoke and trying to also in some ways dominate and to achieve this privileged alien contact. So I was there, and at one point I was kind of paralyzed when I had this light with a very light bluish kind of border, no? So this very strong white light manifesting in front of me, and I was petrified. I mean, I was petrified because it was moving around the room, and it arrived in front of me, and at that point, I kind of forced myself out of my body because I couldn't really move my material body, but I noticed that when I gave up trying to move my material body, I could actually move my ethereal body, which of course is different also in the way it moves. But it kind of moved out of my body. It was a very strange sensation towards this light, and then it went down on the surface of the place where I was, the puppet theater, and kind of around. And it gave me the sensation that I was kind of transported in it in a way. I let myself go with it. And then eventually I managed to regain control of myself. And then this whole thing, this light disappeared. And at that point I could finally move. But the experience was very strong because at that time I was, as I said, trying to dominate dark forces in order to achieve something angelic that could communicate with me. And this light was obviously something angelic, had a very good feeling. It had no negative connotations while instead, when I was giving myself into mediumship to achieve contact with these entities, at times they were totally much more militarized in the way they operate. As we know, demons are very militarized. That's why I also warn very much people in this book, listen, there is a whole reality here which is connected also with demonology. That's why Corrado Balducci was also an exorcist before becoming a famous ufologist.
You mentioned when you made the alien contact back at the Puppet Theater that they were, how did you describe the group?
They were describing themselves as a squadron.
A squadron.
A squadron, and they gave me actually some numbers, which I actually studied later on. Now I have, unfortunately, these 44 papers some time ago, not so long ago, around 10 years ago, were stolen from me. I never photocopied them. It was other people photocopied them from the government. I don't have copies anymore myself, which is pretty sad. But they describe themselves, and also with numbers, they identify themselves. So the squadrons had a specific, each one of them had a specific number, and they were very militarized in their approach, definitely. I mean, what happened at one point was they brought me behind, where in the puppet theater you could go behind the scene where you actually play with the puppets, no? And this whole scene behind there, because it was very small, it really looked like some kind of spaceship in the way, you maneuver all the things for the puppets, the things, And they kind of placed me in front of there for a meditation. And my impression was that they kind of wanted me to use this as a kind of time capsule that transcended actually time and space, and became like an extra dimensional capsule that could go into their reality. Because what they were doing was to monitor the Vatican, and I was right there. I was living behind also very strong place energetically, the place where Giordano Bruno was killed for his, even not only for not believing in certain dogmas of the church, but also for believing in the existence of many worlds and many creatures from these worlds. I mean, Giordano Bruno was an ufologist of his days, as we know.
Of course.
Giordano Bruno was actually killed there.
That's right.
So literally, if you go to Campo dei Fiori, if an American tourist goes to Campo dei Fiori, I can tell them exactly how to get to this place, because it has also a very picturesque entrance to it. You are in Campo dei Fiori in front of the statue of Giordano Bruno. You take the left, you go straight on. At the end of the square, you will see there is a side way, and there is a kind of arch with a Holy Mary and a small, and a gate which is open only in the day. You can go through it, and then you arrive in another square, and you go on the right there, and then there is a side entrance to this puppet theater. So it was something of a connection, which I'm very happy for having experienced, but it was pretty scary at some time. And at one point, the experiment went wrong in a way, because one of the entities took possession of myself. And it took me some time to get out of it. So every now and then, when you practice the magic sacred of the Major, other grimoires, the main problem is that you can get possessed. But in that case, you lose your objectivity, and also you can risk your own life, because these entities will make you do things that are completely out of this world, talking other languages, doing things that are... This experience was very strong, and I'm glad I'm here to be able to tell it to you. But it was very difficult at times, especially because then it got me a little bit unbalanced to learn certain things in advance.
Now, I wanted to ask you, Leo. Let's go back to the squadron for a second.
When I say in advance, the squadron transmitted me also projections of the future. That was a big thing.
Yeah, let's stay right there for a second. Were you able to capture an image of one of the members of the squadron? The reason why I'm asking, was it similar to Lamb? Was it similar to what Crowley experienced?
Yeah, it was similar to what Crowley experienced, but I didn't ever want to see them. Every time they manifested, I gave them I was also bringing offerings to them, and they literally took them. They disappeared. I mean, I bring them in the center of the room, and these offerings will literally disappear. And it was at times very scary for me, because I say, who can I mean, it was impossible to get into a place. There were bars. It was in the center of Rome. There were no other people that could have the keys to this place. And still, things which I was giving as offerings were disappearing in the center of the room. So I knew that the portal was activated right there, because that was also a very powerful place. Regardless of the alchemical, the magical door, which, as I said, for me was important to understand this whole concept. But what I was living there in the puppet theater was equally as strong. And of course, at the same time, I was making my first moves in the magical order of the AA. I was connecting later on with the OTO, with other groups like the Golden Dawn and other groups around the world that were doing magic within what is the Illuminati network, because of my bloodline, because of the fact that I was linked to Cagliostro. That is another Count Cagliostro, which was brilliantly represented by Orson Welles, as you know.
Right.
And Cagliostro is in my family line. He's actually related to me, and he became a sort of mentor, a sort of invisible master, a guide. You need in the invisible realm a guide, and I was searching for one, and Cagliostro became that guide. And it was at that point that something went really wrong when a group of plainclothes policemen one night, I was practicing the ritual, and from time to time I would just go outside to get some food or something. And I got in an argument with this, because I was wearing some ritual thing on me while I was going outside the door. Of course, people could have just minded their own business, I mean, I wasn't doing anything to anybody. But this policeman, plainclothes policeman, I didn't know they were policemen, kind of said something to me. And so I started a fight that ended up with me being arrested. At that point, because I was in the middle of the ritual and I wasn't myself, they couldn't get my name. And they had the head of the police had to call his wife, who studied Kabbalah, to understand what I was saying and who I was. And around 6 o'clock in the morning, the police understood it was me. At that point, they let me out. But I mean, but then they wanted to lock me up, because for them I was dangerous. What I was doing was, of course, perceived by the Vatican as very dangerous. The Vatican had already sent to the puppet theater representatives of the Knights of Malta a couple of months earlier. That was also part of the whole thing. I mean, that I had to deal with. But they were very polite. Not like they came there and they threatened me or anything. No. They were very respectful, because just being respectful of the fact of who I was, my connection with my family on both my mother and father's side, they can't be, they can't have an aggressive attitude. So the attitude was like, they arrived there and they said, what do you need from us? What can we do for you? Can we bring you around? Can you do this? I was pretty impressed by it. They showed me their cards. They were, from the Knights of Malta, and they just told me, Leo, we know that what you're doing, if you want, we can stand by you and protect you from any problems.
Now, I'm very interested.
This was unusual, because at the same time, I thought the Vatican didn't want me to do all this. So at one point, I must have crossed really the line.
Right.
And
Right.
And then they had to lock me up. And they locked me up for I don't know how long, maybe 10 days, couple of weeks, whatever. And at that point, of course, they injected me, they tortured me, they did all kinds of things because they understood that what I was doing probably was really, really dangerous. But then I managed to get out the whole thing there, got the support of old Jewish family, one of the oldest in Rome, the Sonnino family, that worked also for the Banda della Maiana, was this famous gangster group in Rome. And they gave me not only their own protection, but they gave me a place to live within the Jewish ghetto on the other side of the river in Trastevere. In a beautiful place with jacuzzi, everything. It was a small place, but it was cozy, and it was still in the center of Rome, but at that point I was within the Jewish area. So I don't know if there it was more acceptable for them to place me there, because maybe by doing Kabbalistic magic and, I don't know. But I got very much studying and participating to Easter with the Jewish community and being very close to them during that period. Also because it was really helpful for me during my study of Kabbalah to be able to interact with them, ask them questions, and so on. And so I went on a few more months. And when I was doing a specific ritual, always within the magic of Abraham, imagine what Crowley defines as the crossing of the abyss, which is a very, very dangerous moment in which you can really become what Crowley defines as the babe of the abyss. You can just lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which is often what happens. And then I had another setback. So eventually I completed the magic of Abramelin, but there were a series of setbacks for a couple of years. So, and at the end of it, I received the message which was very clear. Leave Rome now, go to London, there you will have the protection and the what you're searching for. And the lions will protect you. I'm from the lion family, the family of this Queen Mother, of course, the famous castle of Glamis in Scotland. I'm related to the Queen. I just saw that as a message for me to get the heck out there, because it was becoming way too dangerous for me in Italy. The 1993, 1994 gave in to the fall of the First Republic in Italy. So there was also a lot of turmoil, bombs exploding all over the place with the mafia threatening the government. Berlusconi was about to enter politics, and at the same time, there was all kinds of other things happening. The fall of the Soviet Union meant that all the old alliances within the New World Order were out, were not valid anymore. They were rediscussed in some way. So certain people, even close to me, like Prince Aliada di Monreale, who brought me within Freemasonry and was guested by Bill Clinton in 1992 at the White House, he was arrested a year later in it. So, I mean, there was things that were happening that were, of course, very upsetting, both for me and also for my family, knowing that I was getting maybe involved with things that were a little bit dangerous, also at the political level, because while I was doing all this, I was also involved with Freemasonry, and then I was operating on a different level, political, not only esoteric, and with the Vatican.
Leo, let me ask you this, because as you went through all of these transitions in your life, you had experienced ET contact. You saw that the possibility of a parallel world, of a Stargate, of a portal, and that life was certainly different than what everybody else is being taught.
When I did the Abyss thing, that was when I really got into my second really strong ET contact, but it was a much more of a darker contact. And as soon as the entity came through the door of this place, which was, as I said, in the middle of the Jewish ghetto, chaos erupted. And I can tell you that there was already I put on the TV and on the news I see secret societies of Satanists is threatening Trastevere in the center of Rome with magical rituals. So there was something going on that wasn't really cool, because I was suddenly, this thing was taking proportions and then of course the police arrives again. I get arrested again. There is more trouble, more problems, and I get, of course, at that point, I have to also leave the situation over there, because at the same time they are arresting part of this Jewish family, which was linked to the Banda della Maiana. This Jewish family, as I said, linked to the Banda della Maiana, but they were also working for the Mossad. So they were also agents of Israel. So I was very close to these agents, and I could see also certain things that were going on also there behind the scenes. So in the end, for me, the better thing was to just leave, go to London. And in London, that's when, of course, I came into contact with the Ordo Templi Orientis, the English side of it, not the Italian side, and with a series of magicians and with the Freemasons. I joined the United Grand Lodge of England at that point to regularize my Masonic position, and many other things happened. But those connections with the invisible realm, those alien connections happened in Rome. They will only re-happen again to a certain extent in Norway, during my time in Norway, and when I was in Norway. Yes.
Right. Let's take a break right here. When we come back, we're gonna jump forward a little bit. We have to go straight to 1909. We have to discuss what happened there with Crowley and him opening up that portal, and of course Lamb and who Lamb is, because Lamb. This is what I find really interesting about all of this, Leo, is that unless you were interested in Crowley and read about him, you would have never seen Lamb. You would not know who Lamb is or what he looks like. But throughout, there has been contact apparently throughout the world with Lamb, with the Greys. But there's a gap there that between 1909 and what ended up happening years later, a couple of decades later with the Greys. And now we go back and we look at Lamb, and that is certainly the cover of Whitley Strieber's book Communion, for instance, right? And it's a very interesting turning point in history with what happened with Crowley in 1909, all the way through to CERN today. So we're going to do that when we come back from the break. Are you ready?
Absolutely ready. Always ready.
Let's do it. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy. The new book, I'm holding it up here, The Invisible Master, The Puppeteers of Hidden Power. There it is. It has just been released. It's an amazing read. More with Leo after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
You're Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy, talking about his new book, Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power. This is all about E.T. and its influence on those in power throughout history. And as promised, we've got to get to one of the most important sections of the book. And it is indeed, Leo, the theme throughout the book, which is the interdimensional portal, wormhole aspect, off-world transport from one planet to another throughout history. And we're going to resolve everything through CERN. But you bring up one of the most important points, which is what happened in 1909 when Aleister Crowley opened up a portal and Lamb entered into the picture. Let's talk about what happened in 1909 with Aleister Crowley. The stage is yours.
Well, as we said earlier, the magic of Abermarin, the mage can unveil certain forces, and Crowley did exactly that by then receiving in a mediumship what he called the Book of the Law. Now, he had just tend to ignore this book and put it aside. He just want to abandon even the existence of it at one point. So he left on the side this book until in 1909 he decides to, he finds it again in a way. He rediscovers it as this transmission from the god Horus to himself for the establishment of some kind of religion, of a new belief for the Illuminati. So in 1909, though, he goes with this guy called Victor Neuberg to Boussad, a town which is in Algeria, 245 kilometers south of Algiers, because at that point he really thinks that this book he has transcribed puts him right at the end time scenario in the Book of Revelation as one of the characters of it. He sees himself as the beast 666. He becomes kind of really linked to this pseudonym that he himself had since a young age, because apparently they used to call him already the beast from a very young age. But anyway, he went with this new disciple of his in the desert because he wanted to evoke, he wanted to open the gates of hell, just to make it really synthetic for your listeners so we don't go through the whole book. Mm-hmm. But basically, how he opens the gates of hell? He opened them by evoking Choronzon. He opens, he wants to proceed to the call of the 10th Ether called Zax. This from the tradition that was, of course, established by John Dee with the Kelly, which Crowley said he was even a reincarnation of. And what is Choronzon? Choronzon, known as Free, is the Lord of Hallucinations, one of the most feared in existence. And he wants to do this because by doing this, as I said, he wants to open the gates of the underworld. He wants to also get probably some vision of also of his own position within this unfolding, which is still unfolding now. I mean, what Crowley did in 1909 has repercussions to this day. And some of you listeners may say, well, who cares about Aleister Crowley? No, my friend. You might not care about Aleister Crowley, but you might care about the Beat generation, the hippie generation, the whole of the culture that you have in California is all of Aleister Crowley's vision and voice, because you have been enslaved by his magical operation in California. The moment in which Crowley indicated California to be the ideal place for his tradition to be transmitted also to the new generations. And that's what happened with eventually the Ordo Templi Orientis was reestablished in the 70s as a Grand Lodge in California, in Berkeley. And so with Victor Neuberg, who assists Crowley, who at this moment is Frater Perdurabo, that's his initiatic name during this operation of control possession. Basically, is opening these extra-dimensional gates for these entities to come through and then possess himself. Possess the person that is with him, that he's actually sodomizing during the ritual, so he could actually, through that act, this Choronzon ritual, he can actually get the gates of hell open. I mean, it's something that, of course, is very dark. He assumes during the ritual various forms, and the guy who is with him will be affected by it for several years to come. He went nearly insane, poor Neuberg, because, I mean, it was very strong what he was trying to do. And later on, Newbold will completely break off the relationship with Crowley in 1914, so only a few years later, because he really was still feeling the dangers and the powers of this evil that Crowley had summoned. And after he summons these demons, it was just the beginning of his own operation that then continues in the United States of America. I mean, when you talk about Lamb, you talk about something that he has put together in the United States of America, the Alamantra workings.
And it continued. Well, see, and the strange connections here with Crowley, with that, and the OTO, not only in Berkeley, but here in Southern California, in Pasadena, which ended up drawing in Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard and the creation of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, our entire space program. And Jack Parsons was completely focused and made the OTO and Crowley a part of his life. And they were busy opening up those same portals, weren't they?
Well, and new ones also. That's why.
Yes.
I mean, it's a gradual operation here. It seems like Crowley and his followers are following a methodology which is directed by the invisible masters. I mean, they're not just opening portals for the sake of it. They are doing it in a way that is methodic. So the Alamantra workings instead take place in New York in 1917, and that's when we have the appearance of Lamb. So the image that, of course, then everybody nowadays identifies with the common gray. And this happened, with a curious drawing which he included himself in an exhibition in Greenwich Village in New York in 1919. But Crowley was not just drawing Lamb. Crowley was having sexual magic and was channeling things right at that moment. And of course, this image was also published in the frontispiece of Crowley's commentary to Blavatsky's The Voice of the Silence, because it's from Blavatsky's Theosophical Society that, as I said earlier, a lot of ufology comes out and springs out from. Mm-hmm. The Theosophy really is connected with all this. So then, and with all these secret societies that were all born out of the Theosophical setup. And then we have the involvement, of course, of the Jesuits in all this, because Crowley then, he deposits the secret code to protect yourself from the possession that you might encounter when you meet with these aliens, and he placed this secret code in the Book of the Law, which he received in 1904. The secret code becomes the secret cipher of the ufonauts, the way in which they can protect themselves and interact with these beings. And at the same time, there is a current of Crowley's research, which then it's taken on by one of his collaborators, the late Kenneth Grant, who establishes himself a lodge of the OTO that then becomes the Typhonian OTO and eventually the Typhonian Order, which is based on communication with Sirius. So with a specific realm of beings that are linked to the star Sirius. So there is also this connection with the alien cult of the Lamb, being also linked to Sirius, which, as we know, occurs many times, this link within secret societies.
Sure.
And then in Crowley's magical saga, there is also the link with Loch Ness and the Loch Ness Monster, of course, because he was there doing the magic of Abramelin the Mage before he went down to Egypt.
And that's where he did it. He did it from his house there on the shores of Loch Ness.
His house that now recently went on fire.
Yes, it burned down. Yeah. And now let's back up. Let's not let this get away from us. When the image of Lamb is now out there for everybody, and now we look at it and we make the connection to the Greys. But you mention UFO nauts, like astronauts, like Fadernauts. UFO-nauts, and that is a term that you've got here in the book. Explain that really quick. You've just said it a couple of times, and I don't think the audience understands.
Yes. First of all, I'm not the inventor of this term, but it was actually ufologist, which is well known, which is called Alan Greenfield.
Yes.
Who happens to be also, though, the Grand Hierophant of Egyptian Freemasonry and a member of the Illuminati, and for a long time also a bishop in the Ecclesia Gnostica Cattolica of the Ordo Templi Orientis, and involved deeply with the Ordo Templi Orientis for a long time before he started his own branch. They actually even gave him a certificate of appreciation in 1998 when he eventually exited the Ordo Templi Orientis. But he apparently had to go out of the Ordo Templi Orientis. He was forced to go out of the Ordo Templi Orientis because of his revealing the secret cipher of the UFOnauts in connection with Aleister Crowley. So the UFOnauts is not a term that I have invented, but I have picked up from Greenfield because, of course, Greenfield, being like me, somebody who has a very large experience, he actually been initiated in the same Memphis and Mizraim branch, an OTO version by Michael Berthiaud. So, I mean, we have a lot of things in common with Greenfield, who is also an eminent figure in the ufologic world.
No question.
So, I mean, here we are talking about somebody who maybe should be taken a little bit more seriously in his research, and that unfortunately is being probably overshadowed by many other, also by the fact that he himself has never really denounced the negative sides of it. So here I am saying, I'm putting it as it is. Then it's, you can make your mind up. But there is definitely a link between even his own Masonic organization and the Illuminati. And it's not like just a link that is made of a conspiracy theorist. No, these are written documents that you can find that I address in my book. And so we are talking here about a link that proves once and for all that there is this connection. And he himself also researched very much the secret cipher in connection with the UFOnauts present in the Book of the Law of Aleister Crowley. And for revealing that, he was probably, a lot of people say, for revealing that, he was forced out of the Ordo Templi Orientis. So the Ordo Templi Orientis that is operating now from California into the world doesn't want really people to go too deep in certain things. And I brought up also in my book the ritual of the crucified frog, which is also something very particular, which Crowley used to invoke an alien spirit of a mercurial nature, and was also used by people like Parsons, Hubbard, and all these people when they were doing their own opening of the portals, which eventually will end up with what happened in the ufologic world in 1947.
Now, are you suggesting, I know you do it in the book, but I want you, for the audience here to address this, was Lamb a UFO-naut?
Absolutely. It's what you call UFO. I mean, I might call it a different thing. They might call it angels and demons 2,000 years ago. Now they call it aliens. They call it maybe in 2,000 years something different. I mean, we always call things different. They call it gods before they call them angels and demons.
Right.
We don't really have a fixed term always for the same thing. But what I'm trying to put in my book, Invisible Master, as you have noticed yourself, because I see you are a very careful reader, I am trying to put the dots even in those spaces that were never really visible to the average researcher, and that in the end prove that all this is all linked. It's totally linked, because the moment in which you have a guy like George Adamski with the Royal Order of Tibet, who seems to see a large cigar-shaped mothership on top of a mountain where just that basically has a OTO lodge, because it has they eventually had to move out of Hollywood, so they had to go down there. No, so I mean, it's this can't be just something of a coincidence always. So when you have people like May Delane, which appeared in the famous, we have also this other thing that, the famous FBI files that I also discuss in my book, because this FBI vault, at one point, everybody in the UFO world saw that there is some documents that talk about extra-dimensional beings using terms that are typical of theosophy in these memorandums known as Round Robin, which was a publication of Madeleine and the Borderland Sciences Research Foundation. Okay? Now, not many people know that these people, though, were also linked to Frate Rashad. Madeleine was linked to Frate Rashad, who itself was the disciple of Aleister Crowley. The fact that Madeleine writes on the day of the Roswell incident a very detailed memorandum addressed to scientists and military authorities, explaining them exactly what these entities are, and but in a very respectful way, he addresses them, but he says also that they're very dangerous, and that we don't know what they're doing here in this plane. Are they invading us? And so the Roswell accident is indeed something that is connected to a large number of sightings across the world. But right in that period of time, there had been a lot of occult activity, because the infamous Babylon working of Parsons and Hubbard had completed the first phase just before the Roswell accident. That's what I talk about also in Invisible Master.
Oh man, it's such an amazing point in the book too, as well. And I was reading through that earlier today. Let's get back to that in a second. I want to get back to Lamb. Crowley and Lamb throughout history, by the way, certainly 1909 and 1917, and Lamb is published in Crowley's book, and he's got the illustration there. But Crowley identified Lamb as a teacher.
Not Crowley's book, in Blavatsky's book.
In Blavatsky's
book.
Important,
because remember, Blavatsky is inspirational to all these people.
Right. My mistake, but Blavatsky's book. But Lamb was
his own, of course, with his own introduction, his own image.
His drawing. It's Crowley's drawing of Lamb that is published. Yeah. But Leo.
Blavatsky talks about the Invisible Masters herself.
That's right.
And I describe them also in my book. So, she's also in contact with these alien entities. And she makes it very clear.
And he is described as a teacher, the way, the path, right? And could it be that Lamb or his relatives, if you will, have been instructing leaders throughout history since the very beginning? And that's where a lot of this knowledge has come from the heavens, from E.T., from Lamb.
Well, in fact, I also connect all this to occult Nazism, as you know, Vril, and this brings us directly to von Braun. It brings us directly to also another side of what became NASA. So, NASA seems to be pretty much occult all the way here.
Right.
With people who have unveiled certain secrets also about occult Nazism and the existence of the Vril Society, which of course was acknowledged for the first time by Louis Bowles in The Morning of the Magician with Jack Berger, and even before that in Monsieur Gurdjieff. But the fact is that this Vril Society was made of mediums that transmitted this technology to the Nazis to build these ships. And you can go and make documentaries about it, about this connection, but nobody has really focused on the occult meaning of all this. So I think that in the future, with my book, I want to stimulate a discussion which really brings certain topics more in the outwards, to be taken more seriously, and also to be studied by specialists that can finally maybe access also certain archives, so we can have even more deeper knowledge of all this. But definitely, this mediumship happened with methods of concentrations that were probably based on Ignatius Loyola's spiritual exercises, which is the basis of spirituality in the Jesuits, which are now in charge, of course, of the Vatican astronomical sector and of all their big telescopes.
Do you think in Freemasonry or Illuminati, we know about the OTO, of course, but going back, Rosicrucians, even further back in some of these secret societies, that they have images that are similar to Lamb, that there is stuff that hasn't been revealed yet, but that it is been a part of all of them?
I think that we have to go at this point to talk about a book that was mentioned only once by a guy who is George Adamski.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is a French book called Le Conte de Gabalis. Now we're going really back to something that it's very interesting for me, because it's really, we are talking earlier, we mentioned Greenfield, and basically he, of course, talks about the UFOnauts, and we can talk a lot about the sexuality of the UFOnauts and their interaction also with sexual fluids given to these aliens and so on. And of course, this has been described very well also by Greenfield. But this is stuff that was described hundreds of years ago. In 1670, a curious booklet appeared in Paris entitled Conte de Gabalis. And the author, who was later killed in mysterious circumstances, who was a preacher and a abbot, Pierre de Montfaucon de Villars, talks in so much details about interaction with these entities, even making children with these entities. And there is a whole, of course, they are described as sylphs of the air, undines of water, gnomes of the air, salamanders of fire, but that was the way they were calling it at that in those days, in that time. That's why it's very important that this book then is mentioned by George Adamski, because I think that makes it a real link that is very tangible. But the Conte de Gabalis is also a book that is very important for the Rosicrucians. So for a part that is central to the Western initiatic system and to Freemasonry. We have the citation of Conte de Gabalis by Sir Edward Lytton. So we go to somebody who is regarded as very important in the realm of secret societies, and with his strange novel Zanoni. So we have a series of stories in this Conte de Gabalis, which are definitely what we find nowadays in today's abduction cases. And it's very, very interesting for people to finally be able to relate also to stuff that comes from the past, because with this book, the Conte de Gabalis, we can finally see that this secret science of how to interact also sexually with these entities was known for a long, long time.
Let's take a break right here. This is getting really interesting, but we have to, I want to stay on the subject, but we can't, Leo, because we've got to talk about CERN, and we're almost out of time. So when we come back, we've got to get to it. It is one of something that we need to really open up our eyes about and understand truly what's going on there on the border of Switzerland and France with CERN. And we're going to do that when we come back. Our guest is Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy, talking about his new book, Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter,
but listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy. The book, Invisible Master, The Puppeteers Hidden Power, and probably 2 or 3 years ago, I've got to think about this. It might have been longer than that. I started to speak loudly about CERN and what was going on out there, and the fact that I understand what experiments are and testing and new frontiers and things. That's what you're doing. But out there at CERN, they are truly experimenting with things that they do not understand. They don't. They simply don't understand it. And the possibilities of something really going wrong there are very, very real. And I had suggested back then that there's the possibility of breaking through to a parallel world or opening up a portal and and allowing things to enter into our world that we may not want here, or that they don't understand the implications and the dangers of doing these kinds of experiments. But that possibility is now real, and you speak about this in the book. What are the dangers of opening up these portals with CERN?
Okay, we have talked in the last couple of hours of the fact that there has been an attempt by occultists to open portals for the last 100 years, really. And now instead there is an attempt that is not really just an occultist attempt, but is also a scientific attempt using means that, of course, have taken their inspiration from the invisible world, because these scientists, of course, have received their knowledge from somewhere to build these machines. That's in order to then create these microscopic black holes. They didn't just build them out of nowhere. We know that science is always inspired, and who inspires it? That's the thing. So it seems like we are helping to facilitate a possible alien invasion by doing what we're doing. And it was quite disturbing also a couple of years ago to see that human sacrifice staged in front of China, even if they said it was a mockery, if they said it was just a group of scientists having a laugh. You don't have a laugh in front of the statue of Shiva, in front of the CERN, and then say it was a prank just because the video in some way has leaked. It seems to me that there is a lot more to it, and that the CERN is assuming instead the role of digging into the abyss enough so they can bring out the biggest of legions and the biggest of demons. Basically, they're letting into a universe some squadrons, like I called earlier during my Magic of Abramelin. What I encountered in my Magic of Abramelin were squadrons of demons, well organized and very methodical in their military approach. And so we're talking here about aliens that are demonic, that of course want to invade our realm. And that was also what made Elaine, what we were talking earlier on also in regards to that communication that was made to the FBI, that famous memorandum. It kind of links also with the same worries that Madeleine was communicating with his associates also. And so their mission is peaceful, but the visitors contemplate setting on this plane. Okay, can we believe that? Do we have to believe that? I mean, especially if a guy like Crowley told me that the mission was peaceful, I would not believe him one little bit, Jimmy. Or any of the theosophical or occult Illuminati that have been involved in connecting with these entities. Often they also receive their lies and their manipulation schemes with it, because they become part of that manipulation. So they can't be biased. And so CERN assumes this very disturbing role, because it's not just a scientific endeavor, it's also an occult endeavor. And we have seen this very strange cloud formation after the experiment of the Large Hadron Collider on the 24th of June 2016. That was the feast of St. John the Baptist, and a key moment in the Masonic year, but also the International Flying Saucers Day.
That's right. That was the day. That was the day, 1947.
So yes. You know, I go like an investigator, and I put the dots one by one. You know, I put in also my own experiences, because I can see that things are in a certain way, and other people maybe can't see them. So I hope that putting together these dots will enlighten many more people to come.
What about the portals that, you know, you've got Jack Parsons dealing with here in Southern California? Of course, what Crowley had done too as well. But after that, after 1947, certainly you have what happened up in Washington, but we have Roswell, and then everything. There was a great the Rhodes sighting in Phoenix. Also in July of 1947, at the same time as Roswell. That was, and the wave of UFO activity that happened all around the world and here in the United States. Did is all of this connected to portal activity?
Absolutely. I mean, while we see them as just activities that are sporadic or they are just out of the blue, occultists and members of secret societies who have been working with these actively with these entities, they perceive them instead in a completely different way, because they know that every action by them has then another action by the others, by the ones they are trying to communicate with, by the ones they are engaging with actively, because they are part of this invasion in a way. This invasion that I describe in the book also as the fall of the wall around it's a dimensional wall that is slightly is corroding, is getting consumed, and so these entities more and more can come into our dimension, into our reality, and take control of it, because it was also predicted by many of the religions that this will happen. That these demons will completely invade the realm, and then at that point it will be the reign of the Antichrist, Satan, and the whole show. Being even more manifest, and I think that is happening in the age of the internet very clearly.
I don't have the time to look it up in the book, but what is that wall called in the Quran?
Well, it has also, it has a specific name, but now I don't have it.
I don't either.
But it was actually René Guénon, who was a Freemason, agnostic, but then became a Muslim, and is regarded one of the esoteric, most important authors of last century. He was talking about it as this wall was blocking Gog and Magog from coming through. No, so
right.
It's of course a wall that was protecting us from something. Now this wall is coming down, and we are of course in front of more and more in front of our enemy, of this astral force that is becoming more present every day, also because they interact through the internet. The internet and the computers and all this technology has itself a purpose for, imprisoning mankind.
Is CERN punching a hole in that wall? Is that what is happening?
It's punching a hole in that wall and trying to punch it more and more so they can get a bigger hole, big enough to let the biggest of demonic forces through, that can at that point ultimately take complete control. I mean, the ritual that was done, it wasn't a mockery, but also it's very important to also maybe talk about that statue that is in front of CERN. That statue that it's entitled The Dance of Shiva, no? This statue which is in front of, that of course is in front of CERN, but has also a link to a book by Fridtjof Capra, which of course is a very important author within the New Age. And the Shiva's Cosmic Dance is a central metaphor in his own book, The Tao of Physics, which was a groundbreaking book for the New Age community. So this there is a special plaque, actually, next to this Shiva statue at CERN that explains, in fact, the significance of the method of Shiva's Cosmic Dance. And so we are here in front of a perception that we are also at the end of a period that also René Guénon talked about, which is the descending phase of the Kali Yuga. It's a dark time, of course, a dark time in which they are trying, of course, to bring something through, because they know that this is a multi-universe, Jimmy. They want to not only prove it, they want to become engaged in it. The problem here is that they're not really revealing the truth to the masses. They're not really making us participate to their experiments. And I find that very upsetting, because, we should be part of it as mankind. We should know what's going on in CERN.
Now, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN isn't the only collider on this planet either. There are colliders in Russia. There's a few here in the United States. Different countries have them. China has one. I think there's one in Spain too as well. And we are using them, obviously, to experiment.
The particularity of CERN is that it's also built on a specific ground, that is built in a specific territory, that has a long tradition connected to ancient pagan cults. And so it's not just built out of nowhere in the middle of nowhere. It's built in a specific area which itself has already a different kind of power.
It's on the border. It's like half in France, right? It's 20 miles across. So it's half in France, half in Switzerland, right?
It's very big. I personally have never really visited the CERN. So I've been many times to Switzerland. But what they told me is that it's underground and it's developed all underground. So we can't really see where CERN is because it's all over the place, but it's underground. So you are basically seeing only a very limited amount of it overground.
Now, they wouldn't let you into CERN. They would see you coming from miles away, Leo.
Well, of course, I would see probably coming from miles away, so I would be probably banned from even getting close to it.
You would be arrested again. I'll pay your bail though. Don't worry about it. Contact me. I'll get your bail taken care of.
I mean, it would be great to go there and just to see what kind of reactions they have in being challenged also, closely. But I think that Switzerland is one of those places where you don't want to really mess around because they're very strict, and they don't have really a sense of humor. So
No, they don't. I could crack all the jokes in the world. Nobody's going to laugh at me in Switzerland. But Leo, let me ask you something that I think is one of the most important questions that we have when it comes to CERN. This planet right now, certainly over the last 3 years, has gone nuts. Right? Everybody's fighting, every country. It doesn't matter. We have never seen this kind of chaos, maybe in the history of everything. We are certainly at a point where all of us can recognize the anger that's on this planet. Is it connected to CERN and black holes opening up portals and trying to achieve the speed of light? Is there a connection here?
Well, as you know, in my book, when I'm talking about it, I denounce very directly the military-industrial complex for still being the biggest problem in today's America, regardless of one's political views. So, I mean, that is because they have also the exclusivity on certain technology these days, but also because they are profiting from war, they're profiting from death, and they're not really constructing still a sustainable future. But we are trying to change. I mean, mankind is, of course, in front of a very chaotic moment, but there is also people that are standing up against this new world order, against this wanting to make everything and everybody prisoners of this planet by microchipping them one day. That will be the moment in which the dark forces from the alien world will be finally able to really be in complete control of us. While now we still have that famous possibility that was given to us at the beginning of times when we have the possibility of choosing between good and evil. We have a choice. We literally have the possibility of making our spirit or our soul better. But once they microchip us, and that is just around the corner, at that point, they will have basically terminated their one of the most important phases. And at that point, they can just say, guys, you are our prisoners. So that's the thing. They have convinced us, and that's why California is so important, because of course Silicon Valley is coming from that kind of experience that is manipulated and is filtered in places like Palo Alto or other places where we have a manipulation that goes well beyond the realm of terrestrial control. So when artificial intelligence will be finally activated in full force, that is because the demonic forces and the dark side of those alien forces that we have been feeling for a long time are now in complete control. I mean, that's going to be pretty scary to see what's going to happen next, because they are already getting there with the smartphones and with all the technology that we have up until now. But then they can really, free hell and let hell break loose once we are finally microchipped and then we have received the mark of the beast. So this was actually said. That's why during the course of my book, I say even to Christians, don't worry about what I'm saying here that might not fit your Christian paradigm, because in the end, you're going to see this actually here fits with Christian beliefs all along. Like it fits with Muslim beliefs or Jewish beliefs or all kinds of other beliefs that are saying the same thing, especially in the Judeo-Christian world, that we are at the turning point of our reality. Now, regarding the aliens, 2020 is a reoccurring kind of year that seems to appear every now and then, and it seems to be of some interest. What I can say also is that there is very much a lot of interest towards the aliens also from the Vatican. And the Vatican is of course interested in the whole thing because they don't want to be left behind. They want to always engage with their power and control everything. But they know that the moment in which things will be revealed to the world, well, I mean, of course, most of the current religious beliefs will be dismantled. They will have to be readdressed in a different way, rediscussed. And this is also the big fear, and that's why they don't reveal the existence of aliens. They don't reveal the existence of UFOs, because there is this whole fear of not being able to control reality anymore. But we are going towards a virtual reality. We are going towards being completely linked to the AI, and so at that point, we will be revealed the alien truth, but it will be too late.
Are the engineers and the scientists at CERN? Are they aware of the portal? Is this a goal? Are they aware of the possibility of ET contact or interdimensional or an entity contact in portal, a doorway? Is this part of their goal?
Absolutely. I mean, CERN has an occult side. I think that even this ritual of 2016 that was then published, it might have been made even on purpose so they can make a mockery of the occult and just dismiss it altogether. But when I went to study that ritual, which I'm sure you have seen, there is some elements of it that are peculiar of occultists that have been doing that for a long time. It's not just people running around in a stupid way or doing. What they were doing was very much ritualistic and correct under occultist terms. So it's a bit strange here then to just dismiss it as a group of scientists having fun. Here there is scientists who know that there is a link, but that link was severed with alchemy, was then transformed in just protochemistry, and that everything together with it and physics and all the rest were just pushed in the realm of materialism. And so then this link with spirituality was severed, and it was kept only within the realm instead of secret societies. Why is that?
Right.
I mean, why do important scientists that every day go around the world talking about the non-existence of aliens, the materialistic reality, promoting all kinds of disinformation, then go at night in their lodges and believe in an esoteric reality? I mean, it's obvious that they are playing double standards. The Helvetic Grand Lodge, the Freemasons in Switzerland, are known to be the depositories of the secrets of the Knights Templars in Europe. They have picked up these secrets because in France, near Besançon, where there was the archives, just after the French Revolution, they feared that the revolution will destroy these archives because linked to Christianity and to Catholicism, even if it was Knights Templars, of course, and even if the French Revolution was partly built by some neo-Templar faction, but the problem was that after the actual revolution took place, this specific group, the Chevalier Bénéficiaire de la Cité Sainte, which means the beneficiary knights of the Holy City, transferred all the archives, including stuff which is connected to alien reality, in their archives in Switzerland. Here they became part of the rectified Scottish Rite, which is the driving force of Swiss Freemasonry. And it's connected then to Scandinavian Freemasonry, the Swedish Rite. So, I mean, there is a link here of a network of Freemasonry linked to the Knights Templars that is not the same Freemason you see, the Freemasons for window masons that you see in England, the United Lodge of England, and the corporate Freemasonry thing. That they want to believe that it's all built around the corporation, around the builders of the cathedral. Yes, okay, guys, the cathedrals could be built, but in the old days, if you didn't have an army protecting them, it would be destroyed the day after. So, I mean, this origins of Freemasonry that it has to be only from a certain vision of the corporations is wrong. There is also a link to the Knights Templars, and the Knights Templars were eliminated by the Catholic Church only partially because their traditions were still transmitted in the families that belong to these Knights Templars. And so in Switzerland, they have their headquarters. It's not a coincidence, no? Do you think it's a coincidence?
No, of course not. And
then also the headquarters, they used to be of the European Illuminati, and there is actually a museum in Stein, Switzerland. Is that a coincidence?
No, it's not. And Leo, we all know everything is safe in Switzerland. That's where you put it. The vaults, the country, everything is secure. You want something to stay secret. You want something to be undiscoverable. You want something to be hidden. You take it to Switzerland, and that's the bottom line there.
It's a very particular country, Switzerland, because you have to understand, in ancient Roman times, they were isolated in a way that no other...
Completely. It's not a joke.
The Romans just sent them back. They
gave up. That's right. And everybody has.
In the middle of the hills. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Hey, Leo, I want to thank you. Amazing conversation. We've got to get you back on the show. There's way too much more to talk about that's in this book. The book is amazing, and I'm glad that you took some time off to get this important work done. I think it's going to become required reading in all conspiracy circles.
I'm glad that you're talking about it because I had the impression that a lot of these topics didn't want to be discussed in your environment. So I'm glad you are.
That's the way it is, right? But we're here to change things. Thank you so much, Leo. Be safe out there. Okay, you love to take chances, and please be safe. And we'll get you back on the show very soon, and we'll pick up this conversation again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. All the best. God bless America.
Yeah, you are the best. Everybody was saying how long it was going to take me to say that. Leo Zagami, the very best. Thank you so much, Leo. And thank you to everybody that participated in Twitter tonight. It was completely on fire. You can go to Leo's website. It's leozagami.com. The links are at jimmychurchradio.com. And, of course, CCC Publishing and Brad Olson. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Michael Lee Hill, A.R. Borden, and the secret NSA group will be revealed tomorrow night exclusively on Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Thank you, Leo Zagami. The book, Invisible Masters, is out now. Go and get yours. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Till tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.